Good morning all. Dear students, I hope you already understand and observe the concept which is discussed in the previous video, that is the production analysis. So now I will continue the part of production analysis, that is long run production analysis. Long run. Okay. Before that, before we start the concept, we should know about a new concept, that is isoquants. Isoquants. Observe that the isoquants is similar, which is discussed in the previous chapter, that is indifference curve. See, the isoquants is also called as iso product curve. Iso product curve. Then what do you understand? What do you mean by isoquants? See, isoquants means it studies it studies the relationship between input and output. Input and output. Then it shows the different combinations of two inputs which represents same or maximum level of output. Same or maximum level of output. That means the different combinations of two inputs, that is two factors of productions like land and capital. So the different combinations of units of two factors of production, land and capital, which represents same or maximum level of output to the producer. And observe that the isoquants is a set of isoquant. Then a single meaning, a single isoquant represents a same single level of satisfaction. Then that means whatever the combination which lies on a single isoquant represents same level of satisfaction. And the isoquants, a set of isoquant is called isoquants. Set of isoquants is called isoquants. Then I told you that it is similar concept of indifference curve. Whatever the features or whatever the properties we studied in indifference curve are same in isoquants. But the difference is the indifference curve is helpful to study the consumer behavior, but the isoquants are helpful to study the producer behavior. How the producer combine the two factors to increase their output. That means combine the combinations of two factors to increase the output. Then let me study the features. Let me study the features of isoquants. Features. So what are the features of isoquants? See, the first feature is the isoquants has negative slope. Negative slope. The isoquants curve has negative slope. It is not positive, it is negative. It implies that the isoquant curve is downward sloping from left to right. It looks like this. It is downward sloping from left to right. It has negative slope. What is the reason? What is the reason for negative slope? See, assume that this is the, before that I will write the diagram. Observe that. Okay. See, this is units of capital. K represents what? Capital. Then units of Y represents units of labor. Two inputs. Okay. See, this is one isoquant. This is another isoquant. IQ2. This is IQ1. This is another one, IQ3. Okay. So just observe the features. See, the isoquant has negative slope. Why it has negative slope? See, it is downward sloping from left to right. Why it is negative slope? Because see, this is one combination. Observe that. 1 unit of capital, 2 units of labor. Then another combination, 2 units of capital and 1 unit of labor. It means if you want to increase the units of one factor, he has to sacrifice some units of another factor. That's why it has negative slope. This is the first feature. Then second feature is, it is convex to the origin. Convex. Convex to the origin. Origin means this point. See, the isoquant is convex to the isoquant curve is convex to the origin. Why it is convex to the origin? See, as the combinations of two inputs are changes, then it slope downwards. It slope downwards. It means from when the producer move from one combination to another combination, one combination to another combination, he must sacrifice some units of one factor to increase the units of another factor of production. That's why it is origin. It is convex to the origin. Then a question is, what is the nature of concave? Concave. See, I show that concave to the origin. Here, observe here. See, this is the diagram. If the nature of the curve like this, then it is called concave. Concave to the origin. If the nature of the curve like this, we can say it is concave to the origin. Okay, concave to the origin. Then what happened here? What happened? Why it is concave to the origin? Because the two reasons are here. You have to keep in your mind. That is, I told you, just remember the first chapter concept, that is PPC. PPC. See, the nature of the PPC curve is concave to the origin because when they move from one combination to another combination, the MRS stands for marginal rate of substitution. MRS is diminishing in here in isoquants, but in PPC curve, that is production positive frontier, the MRS must be increasing. Marginal rate of substitution must be increasing. That's why it is concave to the origin. But here it is convex to the origin because the MRS is diminishing. When you move from one combination to another combination, the MRS must be diminishing. That is second point. Then the third point is, the different isoquants are never intersect each other. Never intersects each other. See, IQ1 is one isoquant, IQ2 is another isoquant, IQ3 is another isoquant. See, the different isoquants are represents different level of satisfaction, and they are not intersect each other. Because see, IQ1 is lower isoquant than IQ2 and IQ3. IQ2 is lower isoquant than IQ3. That means the IQ3 represents, or IQ3 gave higher level of output and IQ1 gave lower level of output. That's why they never intersect each other. Then fourth point is the same point. Fourth point is, the isoquant curves never touches either x-axis or y-axis. They never touches either x-axis or y-axis. Observe here. They never touch either x-axis or y-axis. See, like this. X, Y, they never touch x-axis because they never touch y-axis. Because observe here two diagrams. See, in this point, in this combination B, This is combination C. Okay. This is units of capital. This is units of labor. Okay. See, in this combination, the producer use only the capital, the factors of production of capital, and the the units of labor is 0. Units of labor is 0. That means 0, 5. Okay, 0, 5. And in this combination, observe here, in this combination C, the producer only using labor and 0 units of capital, that is 5, 0. Can we see the producer only use a single factors of production in a production process? No, it is wrong, because he never spend or never use a single factor of production in the production process. He use the different combinations of units of 2 inputs to produce the output. That's why these two are lie. These two are not reality. So the isoquants curve never touches either x-axis or y-axis. Okay, never touch x or y axis. Okay, then last point. See, it is a set of isoquants. See, in the set of isoquants, higher isoquant represents higher level of output. Higher isoquant represents higher level of output. For example, IQ 3, and lower level of output is represented by lower isoquant, that is IQ1. Lower level of, that is lower level of here, low level of output represented by IQ1. That means the higher level of isoquant represents higher level of output, and lower level of isoquant represents lower level of output. These are the features of isoquant. Once again, I will explain the features. The first feature is the isoquant has negative slope. It has negative slope because the producer, if a producer want to increase the quantity or units of one factor, he has to sacrifice, or he must sacrifice some units of another factor. That's why it has negative slope. Then it is convex to the origin. The isoquant curve is convex to the origin because of MRS is diminishing. The MRS is diminishing. Then third point, the different isoquant curves never intersect each other. They never intersect each other. Then of commodities. That's why the particular combination of two inputs represents which lies on one isoquant represents same level of satisfaction, which is different than another isoquant. For example, this is combination C, this is combination D. Okay, observe here, this is another combination. Okay, so there is a difference between combination C and combination D. That's why they never intersect each other. Then the isoquant curves never touch either x or y axis. This example. Okay. Why they are never touch either x axis or y axis? Because the firm or the producer will not impose only one factor in the production process. Then the last feature is the higher level of isoquant represents higher level of satisfaction than lower isoquants. lower isoquants. Observe the diagram. See, the IQ1 is lower isoquant, which represents lower level of satisfaction, lower level of output, and IQ3 is higher isoquant, which represents higher level of output, or which gave higher level of output to the producer. Then come to the diagrammatic explanation. So this is the diagram. Okay. So just I will explain briefly the diagram explanation. Okay. See, observe in the diagram represents the y-axis. The y-axis represents units of capital. Okay, units of capital. Then y-axis represents units of labor. Okay. Observe here, the IQ1, IQ2 and IQ3. IQ1, IQ2 and IQ3 are different isoquants which gave different level of output to the producer. Because it means what? A particular isoquant represents a particular level of output. Particular level of output. It is a set. It is a set of different isoquants. It is a set of different isoquants which gave different level of output. It means a lower isoquant represents, or lower isoquant gave lower level of satisfaction than higher isoquants. Higher level of isoquant. Just give an example this. Just read the example. IQ1 is lower isoquant which gave lower level of satisfaction, lower level of output to the producer. Then IQ3 is the higher isoquant which represents higher level of output to the producer. Then a rational producer, this is the conclusion, a rational producer is always try to move from lower isoquants to higher isoquants. He always try to move from lower isoquants to higher isoquants. By doubts related to the isoquants, just mention the just comment the question in the comment box and I will try to answer. Okay, let me study another concept, that is long run production analysis. Long run production analysis. Long run. Okay. So in the previous video, just observe we discussed about the short run production analysis, that is the law of variable proportion. That means the law of variable proportion operates in the short run, because where there is a fixed factor and variable factor. Fixed factor and variable factor. That means if a firm keep constant of fixed factor, only increase in variable factor, then how the output determined, how the output changes, that is discussed in the previous video, that is short run production analysis. But the short run production analysis in the long run production analysis is different than short run, because in the short run we discussed there is two factors, one is fixed factor and variable factor. Fixed factor and variable factor. Okay, the total factors of productions are split into fixed factor and variable factor. But in the long run production, all factors of productions are variable factors. All production factors are variable factors. That means the firm try to increase their all factors of production to increase the output. Okay. See, In the long run production, analysis, the law of returns to scale, the law of returns to scale operates. The law of returns to scale operates in the long run. Okay. So what is the theme? What is the theme of the law of returns to scale? See, the law of returns to scale, same thing. The law of returns to scale explains or studies the relationship between output and the change in all inputs in the same proportion. It means, in simple words, I can explain in simple words, when the firm increase all inputs in the same proportion, how the output changes. That will be discussed in the law of returns to scale. See, when all inputs are, I will give you some example. I will give an example to understand the concept. See, a company was located in a particular locality, and they only meet the demand of a particular region. They have one production unit. They're using local factors of production and producing the units, producing the commodities, and meet the local demand. As the name of the company is spread throughout the country, they are not able to meet the growing demand, because that, and also not able to meet the growing demand, and also the transportation cost to transport the goods from production is to different places may be higher, high cost of production. That's why they decided to establish a new production unit in another region. It will be helpful to meet the growing demand in different regions, and also they employ new employees in that region. They are also using new factors of productions, new machineries, install a new machinery in that unit. That means they will change all its factors. They employ new laborers, they install a new machineries, and also they started a new factory. So they change all the factors of production to increase the output. This is the theme of the law of returns to scale. Then the assumptions. Before we start the law, we study some assumptions. We assume some factors or some things. Okay, assumptions. Okay. What are the assumptions of this law? The first assumption is all factors of productions are variable factors. Okay, first assumption is variable factor. It means the firm will change all its factors in the long run. That means there will be no difference between fixed factor and variable factor. All factors are variable factors. Then the second assumption is there is no change in production, that is technology. There is no changes in technology. That means the production technique remains constant. That implies there will be no changes in technology, because if the technology is upgraded, that is new technology was adopted in the production, it may increase the output at existing factors of production. There is one reason. Another reason is a new improved machineries are installed, then they have to replaced by some units of labor. That means we have to reduce the units of labor to adopt modern technology. It may increase the output. At existing factors of production. Then third point is the output. Output is measured in physical units. Output is measured in physical units. Okay, it can be easy to calculate addition and to calculate marginal and average product. It is helpful to calculate the average and marginal product. That's why it is measured through the physical units. Then last point. There is perfect competition. Perfect competitive market. There is perfect competitive market. So, what do you mean by perfect competitive market? I will just give you the meaning of perfect competitive market. See, there is a perfect competitive market. It means a market situation or a market structure in which there is a large number of buyers and sellers. Large numbers of buyers and sellers are engaged in buying and selling of commodities. There is only single price ruling. There is only a single price ruling in the market, and also there is a free mobility of factors. Free mobility, that is one other important point in perfect competitive market. That is free mobility of factors of production. Free mobility of factors of production. The perfect competitive market. See the assumptions. The first assumption is all factors of production are variable factors. That is, all factors are increased to increase the output. Then there is no changes in production technique, because the modern technology, modern machineries or modern technology may increase the output at existing factors of production. Then the output is measured in physical units. Okay, it can be easy to calculate total product, marginal product. Then there is a perfect competitive market. There is a perfect competitive market. These are all the assumptions. Then in the law of returns to scale, there are three stages. Okay, the first stage is increasing returns to scale. Increasing returns to scale, which is short formly called IRS. Increasing returns to scale. Then second stage is constant returns to scale. Constant returns to scale, CRS. Then the third stage is diminishing returns to scale. Diminishing DRS. Okay. So what are the meaning? What are the stages of productions here? The first stage is increasing returns to scale. Second is constant returns to scale. Diminishing returns to scale. That means the output increases increasing rate in the first stage. In the second stage, the output increases at constant rate, and in the third stage, the output increases at diminishing rate. Diminishing means what? Decreasing rate. The output increases at decreasing rate. Okay. See, just I will give the meaning of this way. Increasing returns to scale. So increasing returns to scale means, in increasing returns to scale, the output increases at increasing rate. Output increases at increasing rate than the rate of increase in all inputs. Okay. See, when the all inputs are increased in a particular rate, the output increase in more than that rate is called increasing returns to scale. I will give an example. See, observe the example. See, input first, input and output. Okay. See, the first increase in returns. If the inputs are increased with 5%, if the firm increase all its input at 5%, same rate at 5%, then the output increases more than that rate, that is more than 5%, that is 10% maybe. The output increases at 10%. Output increases at 10%. This is called increase in returns to scale. Then constant returns. Constant returns to scale. Constant means same rate. The rate of change in input and the rate of change in outputs are same. See, what it mean? The constant returns scale. In constant returns to scale, the output increases at same rate of increase in all inputs. Rate of increase in all inputs. See, when the inputs are increased in the same proportion, the output increases also at the same rate. Also increases at the same rate. That is known as constant returns to scale. I will give an example for this. See, if the inputs are increased at 5%, then the output is also increased at 5%. This is constant returns to scale. Then the third stage, diminishing returns to scale. Diminishing means what? Decreasing. The output increases at decreasing rate. The rate of change is decreasing here. The output increases at decreasing rate than the rate of increase in all inputs. That stage is known as diminishing returns to scale. Just observe the example. If the inputs are increased at 5%, then the output is also increases. It also increases, but at decreasing rate than 5%. It may be 3%. 3% increase in output. See, the rate of increase in input is 5%, but the rate of increase in output is less than 5%, that is 3%. This situation is known as, or this stage is known as diminishing returns to scale. Okay. Then we can study the three stages of production, the three stages of returns to scale through the schedule. I will show you how to prepare the schedule. So I told you that there are two factors of production. So assume that there are two factors. One is units of labor and capital. Labor and capital. So you can write it in the same column, labor and capital. Okay, which is measured in units. Okay. Then next column is total product. Then marginal product. Then last column is stage of production. Okay. Okay. So there are two factors are using. We assume that there are two factors are using. One is fixed and variable. So all factors are here what? Variable factors. And keep in your mind, all factors are increased in the same proportion. Okay. So 1 unit of labor plus 2 units of capital. 2 units of labor plus 4 units of capital. See, increase in factors are same proportion. 3 units of factor, 3 units of labor and 6 units of capital. Then 4 units of labor, then 8 units of capital, 5 units of labor plus 10 units of capital, 6 units of labor plus 12 units of capital, 7 units of labor plus 14 units of capital, 8 units of labor plus 16 units of capital, 9 units of labor plus 18 units of capital. Okay. Then I told you in the preparation of schedule, first we must write the marginal product. First we write the marginal product. See, in the first combination, 1 unit of labor and 2 units of capital, the marginal product is 10. Marginal product is 10. The total product is also 10. And in the second combination, when they employ 2 units of labor and 4 units of capital, the marginal product increased to 20 units and total product is also increased to 10 plus 20, 30 units. Okay. Then again they employ 3 units of labor and 6 units of capital, the marginal product increased to 30 units and the total product is 30 plus 30 is 60 units. 60 units. Okay. Then in the fourth combination, when they employ 4 units of labor and 8 units of capital, the marginal product increased to 40. The total product is 10, 20, 30 plus 40, that is 100. 60 plus 40, that is 100. When they employ 5 units of labor and 10 units of capital, the marginal product is constant, same rate, that is 40. Then the total product is 100 plus 40, it is 140. When they employ 6 units of labor and 12 units of capital, and the marginal product is also increased at same rate, that is 40. 140 plus 40, the total product is 180. Then again, if the firm employs 7 units of labor and 14 units of capital, now the marginal product start to decrease to 30 units, but the total product will not decrease, it's same, it increases, but at decreasing rate. 180 plus 30, 210. And when they employ 8 units of labor and 60 units of capital, the marginal product again it decreased to 20 units, but the total product increased to 230. Okay, the total product increased to 230 units. Then, if they employ 9 units of labor and 18 units of capital, the marginal product decreased to 10 and the total product increased to 240. Okay, let's observe the schedule. See, in the schedule, as they employing more and more units of factors of production is the same rate, the marginal product increases at increasing rate up to a certain point. After that it may be constant, then it start to decrease. Just observe the total product is continue to increase. It continued to increase. In the first 3 stages, it increases at increasing rate. Later it increases at constant rate. After that it increases at diminishing rate. See, up to where the total product increases at increasing rate, that stage is known as increasing returns to scale. That stage is known as increasing returns to scale. That is the first stage. And up to the point where the output increases at constant rate, that stage is known as constant returns to scale, CRS. Constant returns to scale. That means output increases at constant rate. Then after that, up to where the output increases at diminishing rate, that stage is known as diminishing returns to scale, DRS. Okay, just observe here. In the first stage, increasing returns, the marginal product is increasing. The total product is also increasing. And in the second stage, constant returns to scale, the marginal product is constant, but the total product continued to increase. In the third stage, diminishing returns to scale, the marginal product start to decrease, but the total product continue to increase. So just observe in the schedule, we can observe, we can get a conclusion that the total product in the first stage, the product output increases at increasing rate than the rate of increase in input. In the second stage, the output increases at same rate as the rate of increase in input. in the third stage, the output increases at decreasing rate than the rate of increase in inputs. Okay, this is the schedule explanation. Then it can be, this law can be studied with the help of diagram. I will show the diagram. Okay, see, the law of returns to scale can easily understand by drawing a single curve, that is marginal product curve. Okay, observe the nature of marginal product curve. It is increases, it is constant, and it decreases. See, I will mention the points A, B, C, and D. Okay, this is marginal product curve. Okay, so just observe the diagram. Let's observe the diagram. So in the y-axis, we plot the stages of production, and y-axis represents the product, total product and marginal product. Observe the diagram. The marginal product curve is increasing from point A to B, It increases at a point A to B. So this stage is known as increasing returns to scale. This stage is known as increasing returns to scale, which is short formly called IRS. And the same marginal product curve is constant from B to C. It is constant from B to C. This stage is known as constant returns to scale, CRS. This stage is known as constant returns to scale. And the marginal product curve is decreasing from point C to D, This is known as diminishing returns to scale. From point C to D, it is diminishing. This stage is known as diminishing returns to scale. It is very simple explanation. It is very simple concept, and this question is as for 4 marks, and for 2 exams it has been repeated. I hope you all understand the concept. If you have any doubts, any question arises, then you can write in a comment box and I will explain in the next class. Thank you one and all.